This is the beginning of the 42nd Keshe Knowledge Seekers Workshop, and it's December 25th, Christmas Day, and we're here with Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. And let's go immediately in and find out what you would like to say for today. Mr. Keshe, go ahead.
Yes, good morning. This is our second take, and I try to put the same point across. First of all, thank you for you being here, and you made the time available on such a day to be part of the organizations of what we call the world peace, under different name of humanity, Keshe Foundation. Today is a beautiful day, and as I was just explaining, before Rick starts the process of recording, we had a few second glimpse of his place where he's working out of, and it's a garage. And as I explained, when I speak to the different Keshe Foundation members around the world, they're all working out of garages, literally out of garages. Very few have built up laboratories or work in the laboratories and the conditions different. And as I said, all we done, we have changed the caves from the time of the Adam to garages in a different shape or form, where we feel safe and where we feel we can contribute and stay alive. We escaped into caves to escape from the animals which we could endanger our lives. Now we escape into garages that with the intelligence we gathered, we can escape from the dangers, or at least prepare ourselves to be able to contribute for the dangers which sit outside. The name has changed, but the behavior is the same. Now the dinosaurs, which were endangered us when we came and we took refuge in caves, have become our own brothers and sisters, on different names: religion, armies, nationalities, creeds, and we all find the same reason to find a way to protect ourselves from these dangerous animals. But the one thing we haven't understood, if there were no dinosaurs to allow us to save ourselves in the caves, we would have joined the dinosaurs when the change came in rapid way. And now we are in the same position. We have taken refuge in caves to prepare man for danger which is to come, for it to be able and be ready to live, to grow, to nourish, and to become part of a bigger society. When we left the caves, after dinosaurs disappeared, we found a race to survive on this planet. And the same shall be. Once we leave these garages, we'll join and we'll find a new community to be part of, which is the universal community. Now, maybe we all understand what is and how we are joining and what we are doing. The little caves are the key to the success of man and survival of man in space. Any questions? Today we only answer questions.
Okay, do you have anything on the GoToMeeting there, Vince?
I'm sure there's a few people here that have some questions in GoToMeeting. I would like to go draft if possible. I've seen his mini starship is online broadcasting as well. and it's very clear to see in his starship formation right there, the tubes that we've talked about before that we haven't been able to see quite clearly, due to plastic or whatever else conditions. So it's great to see that right off the bat through the glass. JF, can you talk about that a little bit? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people interested in the findings that we talked about last night at the workshop.
Can you give us the link that we can see it? If you can post up the link on the chat or on the Skype.
I think, Rick, can you show that live stream just so that he doesn't have to go anywhere? Can somebody help him out that way?
For those while we are waiting for Rick to find the link, for those of you who are on the workshop now or listen to it, I have to remind you as of maybe 10 or 15 minutes before the beginning of workshop, the Keshe Foundation core team has started in devoting their souls to bring peace to humanity. And this process will carry on till we achieve peace. You know who they are. The core they've been trying to achieve, and we started the world peace through human race and not through the leaders or religious. In time, if the team decides, the recording of this morning shall be released to public. But that's the decision of them, because they are the decision makers in that respect. Maybe then you understand what has been the purpose of the work we've done on this channel, we've done on the teaching. This is not a show. This is the change principle of the way the man thinks, the man works, the man worships, and the man communicates with himself, among themselves, and amongst others. So, let us see what you have. We're waiting.
It's posted in the Skype chat. It's there.
I see somebody has asked a question.
Posted where in the Skype chat?
Rick,
Can you show me?
core team. In core team, Rick.
Okay.
Can I carry on? There is a question here about if the gas is the same as Ormus. I don't know what Ormus is. A lot of people tell me this and that. You got to realize, as I explained to some people in a very recent presentation, the Keshe Foundation works on such a vast development of technology and science that every one of you in different parts of it finds something that you can attach yourself to it and call it something. I had a discussion with a French scientist, which Brad was present in the past couple of weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks. And he uses a terminology, and every time we say something, he says, this is exactly what I mean, but this is a scientific word for it. We cover the gravity, the energy, the seed, the materials, every man's need, even to the soul of the man. So somewhere, some of you find something to connect yourself with it in the respect of the smallest part of the totality. And that gives you a reason for existence. So let it be, you can call it whatever you like. If that serves you to bring peace, call it Einstein, call it Newton, call it the snake, call it aliens. If that gives you solace and peace, let it be the same. Because that's the way you understand, and you can understand it a part of the totality. I have to make a comment here before we go any further. I have seen a letter posted in respect to one of the ex-knowledge seekers. I inform you, we have been informed by security and the police that we were expecting this to come up, as the gentleman is a prime suspect for attempted murder, and this had to be done. An investigation has started 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago by the police and Interpol. So we do not respond as this letter posted is a defense, as they internally know about the police investigation, trying to make a step ahead. So please do not ask us to make a comment about this situation, as this is a defense technology, what do you call it, a step trying to protect their interest in what they've done. So it's already been processed and is in the hand of the people who are investigating. We will not make a comment about this letter, as most probably the gentleman is aware has been interviewed or about to be interviewed. He has a warning in advance. He's trying to protect his name. He's a prime suspect, and he is, more or less, we have enough evidence. So please do not ask us to make a comment about this letter, which has been circulating past 2-3 days. This comes out of the investigation of the police. Why this letter was not published the day it was left, or the past 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So we keep silent because it can interfere with the investigation of the police and Interpol and the other governments who are investigating in this murder attempt. Thank you very much. Okay, carry on with it.
Okay, well, we have a picture of JF's reactor on the screen on the live stream.
Yeah, can you explain to us? This is gorgeous. I absolutely love this setting. We need explanation.
Vince, did you want to discuss that a bit, or you kind of brought it up there?
Okay, Jeff could unmute and we could talk about it. Jeff, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, thank you. So I see in your live stream that the tube on the front reactor is all the way through. It is a complete tube, it looks like. Last time we seen this live stream, before you had to shut down, there wasn't a tube. There was just a small bubble at the top. Could you explain what you did and what we talked about last night?
Yes. In fact, those spheres have been opened up. So the reason why now we see the full tube is because I have put some other GANs, yellow GANs, a bit inside of them. And like we have said yesterday, I have remarked that it seems that the sphere that I have put the more biggest quantity of GANs inside of the sphere. This is the one that have the most GANs. It's like it seems that it is the one that made the biggest tube. So we ask about if it's possible, if the relation can be directly due to the quantity of GANs that we put in it. So maybe this is, but to explain why now I have a full tube, it's because like we have discussed, I have let a little bit of air and trying to make vacuum. I have heat the sphere so before sealing it, so trying to create a bit of vacuum in the cold process. I don't know if I'm clear about that.
So, but there was no air in there when you closed it. You had just heated it to try.
No. The fact for the bottom one, those one that time I have let a little bit of air inside it. So the first time I have done it, I have left no air, and like we have seen last week. The three one have different sides of bubble, and the one that have the biggest bubble seems to be the one that I have put the more GANs in it. But at the beginning they have no air. After 3-5 days, I have I have see the creation of this kind of tube. But after 6-7 days, because the tube was not growing, so then I have reopened them yesterday and put other GANs and restart them. It's now about 6 hours before now.
And the top one, though, you said you didn't stop the top one. The top one's been rotating.
Yeah. The top one is the same, and this one have now maybe he have a leakage because I think he have very a big tube in it. So
yeah, is it possible to get a little bit of light in there so we can see that tube? It looks absolutely human.
Okay, I will try that.
Of course, we are looking at 1 centimeter balls here, so humongous is relative.
Yeah. It's small, and my camera have not a big resolution, so I don't know if you can. It's not easy.
Yeah, it'll probably take about 30 seconds to a minute to appear on the live stream going through both. So as long as your preview window is looking okay, then we should be able to see it okay.
Okay, you will probably change soon.
And I also wanted to bring up in there that you can clearly see that copper oxide has turned to a more milky color on the edges.
Yeah, but this is true. Like we have said yesterday about that. After some time, I was looking. We can see a kind of whitish disc on the upper and bottom part of the ring. But now, because I have put yellow GANs inside, it's like a white yellowish band. So, but it's not it's because I have put another GANs inside of it that we.
But that's only the bottom ones, isn't it?
Yeah, just for the three in the bottom.
Right. So the top one, you can still see the same.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yes, it's true.
Yeah. So look at that tube is encompassing quite a bit of area inside that center. And you said it had grown as well, right?
Yeah, the top one, I suspect a leakage because it's look like it's really big now. I'm not sure, but maybe it's just creating more vacuum, but it's look like me that I have a little leakage. I don't know, maybe Mr. Keshe can explain about that, if it's possible to have a constant growing of vacuum.
I looked at it. I could see it before. What you have created, the central columns, these are more or less field columns. And at the interface is what you see. You don't see the flow internally. This is very much like hollow rings we use. And this way what you can see the interference of the change of the plasma to matter state plasma. And what you see now is mainly the interface. The size is more or less relevant to the condition you have created in the mixture. In time we will see different angle of this mixture, which means that the central column will start tilting, and you will see as it tilts, it will change the fields in the others and the shape of the sphere in the other, or the rings, or the positioning of the rings. But there's a question which I want to ask you. Why the bandwidth of the upper core is much wider if it's the same amount? Or is it different amount?
Yeah, the top one have a bigger amount. The three on the bottom, I have tried to put the same amount of GANs, but the top one I have put bigger, trying to make them more to be the leader, so to be more powerful than the other. This is the reason why
why is that one? Can you explain to us how the center core column, or the top core column, has increased over time? How did it grow? Slowly or in one go?
No, I should say that at the beginning he have create this vacuum in one go. As I have remarked, but I was not looking at it all the time. But now because now it looks like it's growing again. That's the reason why I'm not sure if it's really a vacuum or maybe a leakage.
Okay.
Because it's just a glue. So
if you test something very simple, you might find your answer. If you can, in your structure, in your setup, without doing anything else, move the top core slightly further up or further down, and see the change in the size of the center column, then you'll find your answer.
Oh, okay.
If you can,
I will try that.
move the top core maybe about 2-3 centimeters or 5 centimeters, and observe the change in the size, the center column, and the positioning. And then I think you'll understand if it's vacuum or not. What is happening, if I'm correct, I hope I'm correct, is that your center column not only creating magnetic gravitational field of its own, but has become the center point for the rest of the fields to flow through. So what is done, if you remember, when I speak about the magnetic fields, why you have positive or entry and exit, and if you have two tunnels, how the traffic manages to go through one, and if there is no traffic jam. I think if I'm correct, I could be 100% wrong, what I can explain to you is that the field strength going through the center of the top core, it's so much that it needs more space for it to fly, or for the fields to go through. And this could be the condition. That's why you have a bigger core on the top, in the center column. And you can only prove we are correct by moving the core up and see if the size reduces by a few micron, not much more. And if you bring it down, it will go the same. But do not touch the ball. just move the, if you have a mobile platform for your top core, just move it up a few centimeters at a time and try to observe the size. I think you might find your answer there. If you look at the shape of your inner bottom cores and measure the size of the entry of the column at the bottom and measure the size of the exit at the top, I think you'll find a slight difference. And the top should be a bigger field, bigger space, or a wider column diameter. And if it's so, you understand, if you can freeze it and just measure it, then you will understand you should have the same kind of structure in your top core. Which means your entry column in the 3 bottom ones, measure the size of the column at the bottom, measure the size of the column at the top, and it should be a difference. The top should be slightly bigger. And then you understand, if you put 3 slightly bigger together to go through the bottom of the top core, it means that then the top of the top core you don't see, which is your motor, should be a wider channel. This is demonstration of the flow of the magnetic field, and as they go through the center of the core, they absorb more energy or gravitational magnetic fields, so they need wider room to come through. I think anybody can measure this instantaneously, but you're there, we see reflections of the glass. But if you can measure the size of the 2 columns, top and the bottom, and then all 3 of them, and move the top plate up just a little bit, maybe 2, 3, 5 centimeters, because you allow interaction of the field with the center core. Somebody's having a party. This sounds like army. Who's that? Uh, yeah, he's celebrating truly. All the best, Armand.
It's
He
for you
wanted to
guys.
show us.
No extra charge for the entertainment.
So, if you measure the top and bottom of the columns, if you can do it while we're on air, maybe we all can learn something new.
Yes, I will do that.
Please, if you could let us know. Go for the touch point on the glass, just before the glass. And I think maybe we'll be enlightened.
Okay, I will report you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry
Sure.
about
Can I
that.
ask you? Can I ask you a simple question?
Yes.
When you shut your reactors down to stop them, can you do it in the dark, because you will release fields, and see if you see the sparks which you've seen in other systems twice? With, I think, is it with Vince or with Marcel's? So when your field collapses, the central column field interacts with the GANS fields, and then in interaction with the space in the air will create the light.
Okay, I will try that.
Just
Good.
Thank
observe.
you.
We're all students. We're all learning, but I think this is a very good demonstration of what we should see. But I'm fairly certain you will see a difference between the north and the south. And whatever is the larger base, that's the north part.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much. Let us know before we finish.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, man.
So we see what happens. Um, there there should be a field interaction between your base cores as well. If you put your finger across somewhere in between and move from one core to the other, just a few millimeters, you should feel different pressures on both sides, but don't stay in there too long. If you can feel that, those of you who do not have a detector, just put your finger between the two cores, just for a few milliseconds, just to move it towards one or the other one. And if you feel a pressure, it means your plasma is complete and is interacting with each other. Because it's a tangible interaction, because these fields in your setting have to cross matter condition between the two. And that interaction has a difference field. You're more to one or the other one, or you feel the strength of one pushing the other one.
So we were just given another detector test, the finger test, you might say.
Yes, this is the easiest way. You feel the pressure. You clearly feel the pressure.
Would everybody feel the same thing, or is this something you have to train yourself for?
It differs. This is, I explained to you, if you go back to last year's, when we work with the Italian team in respect to the energy unit, and we achieved a weight drop by 2-3 kilogram. Maybe I'm sensitive to it, as Elias said, I'm an alien, I can feel different things. I could feel the field around the reactor were not homogenizing, but they were very strong. So if you ask the Italians who were present, I put a special gloves on to unify all the fields, and within seconds we achieved, the weight reduction. Sometimes it depends on people, but as I said, Alien says I have a different structure, so I feel totally different, and a lot of you do. So I feel these changes. I'm very sensitive to magnetic field changes.
Would you describe that as a pressure? You mentioned sort of feeling a pressure.
It's a field pressure. What happened? Let me go back to a point in the present physics. In the present physics, we say gases cannot, or presentation or manifestation of a gas depends on the room pressure and temperature. Room pressure is a kind of exchange between magnetic fields. Difference between magnetic fields in exchange. If we redefine pressure this way, half of the physics mysteries will be solved. This is your Christmas gift, if you understood what I explained. On the other hand, when you have rubbing of the fields against each other at the matter level, and the strength of the rubbing of the field, that in conjunction with the inertia gravitational magnetic field, this is what you call heat. So what we call pressure is the interaction between different field strength, and in respect to the environmental gravitational magnetic field and the inertial gravitational magnetic field of the matter of the planet or anywhere in the universe. So very much like what we saw with Pratt and Vince in putting aluminium in between two copper nano-coated, they saw a current flow. That current flow is kind of heat, because is exactly the same, the two nano layers are the two cores, and your finger is that aluminum plate. You create a potential difference in the strength of the gravitational magnetic field. There you see a current, but in human level, or in the condition of the earth, we call it pressure. If you would have moved the two nano-coated layers up and down in respect to the aluminium, without touching the aluminium, you would have seen temperature rise in the aluminium. And that's what it is. Because then, it's not the aluminium, but the magnetic gravitational field of atomic molecular structure in interaction with the copper nano-coated gravitational magnetic field layers creates what you call residual reference, or what we call heat. So if you see who can everybody detect this? Yes, but it depends if you put a copper in there or wood in there.
Would some people, for example, feel maybe a heat, or some people might feel a tingling as opposed to a pressure?
It's everybody feels different. In my case, I've had this. I don't go too far about it, but this ability to feel and to be able to cross into plasma and the magnetic field. I do not suffer from what you call nuclear sickness or radiation sickness, because somehow my body absorbs everything. The structure is adapted for higher level radiation. So I feels different than you do. And as a lot of you know, I'm not a normal chap. Those who have tested, yeah, those who have tested can check
Not a normal chap.
them.
Good one.
When we accept the responsibility, we come fully equipped. We don't come in pieces. But at the same time, it takes to change in the shape of a man to understand the man. So most probably I can stand huge amount of radiation where the man's body will literally destroy itself. So it's understanding the structure. I can feel it because of the structure I have. You can hear it most probably because of the structure you have. But all it is the interaction in the difference between the environmental and what you call inertial gravitational magnetic field. So in a way, when you increase the pressure in a matter level, all you do, you concentrate the magnetical and gravitational field into one point. That's what pressure means. And this is what the world of science has not had the intellect to understand. When you create pressure and increase pressure, and then you say the matter manifests itself or changes the state, all you do, you literally make liquid into the solid of the matter, in the gas of the matter. So you concentrate all of them into one point. So you have more mass. In the gas rotation in the reactors we see, you spread it open and you call it vacuum. You create a vacuum because now you put the matter beyond and only fields within. In pressure has to be redefined by the present science as the concentration of the inertia, which is an attribute of the matter of gravitational magnetic field, the state of its strength. Then you redefine the temperature, and then you understand matter can exist in any temperature or pressure, because now pressure is explained in gravitational magnetic field strength, not as something we do not know. If it's very hard to understand, get a balloon and put some water in it and pressurize it. Where does the water go? It'll go to a point that they all come together in the center if you pressurize it directly all over. You do the same thing with the matter state of the gases which are in the container. And now you create a new center gravitational magnetic force which is concentrated, and you call it pressure. Then you have that in respect to the environment. So if we redefine the present physics of pressure and temperature the way I did, then you understand everything is magnetic field dependent. So depends what strength you put into it and how much you rub it against each other, you have different temperatures and pressures, or what you call positioning of the fields in respect to each other. Then the whole thing resolves itself for you, that not to be a mystery why you have what do you call it, current flow in a vacuum. And this is impossible. They made different names for it. The reason you have a current flow in a vacuum, because even in the best vacuums you still have fields. There is nowhere in the universe that is void of magnetic fields. It's very much as you see in the spheres you created. These are interaction of the higher strength in respect to the matter condition. To you is vacuum and maybe you put gas in it. No, you have to understand this is a lot of what people in the present world of science, they call it wormholes. If you want to see a wormhole, it's in front of you. This is what the new science is. We had some people with us, they said they want to start a new, what do you call it, vocabulary for the science which is getting created in respect to plasma. And they want us to start making the language for this. Because they understand the changes which are coming, they want to connect it with the old, that then everybody can understand. But in a way, all we do now to get to that point of definition of the new science is to explain the old in a manner that everybody just adds to the science. We don't create a new one that you need to go and learn to again become different than the others. And that's the purpose. Now, up to now, for past centuries and past times, we always said at different temperature and pressure, matter becomes gas or gas becomes solid. Once you understand that the pressure and temperature at the human level race is the same, but in different strength of magnetic gravitational field flow in respect to each other, then you understand physics become as sweet as anything. Because nobody is more genius than that one to get a Nobel Prize. So this column you see, you have to understand what it is. Why it was a ball, now it's become a column. This is a field flow within the center. And let me just add before you go, if you see an increase in the size of the top than the bottom, it means at the center, where the GANS is, you are collecting the residual fields from the environment of the core. The bottom is what is entering, the top is what is exiting. And as it goes through, it collects gravitational magnetic field plasma from the matters inside. And because they're in the plasma state, it gets added directly, it doesn't go to conversion of matter. So it'll be interesting to see if we are correct, and then you will see a new chapter in the human's life with science. I told you, I only explain once you achieve something to understand it, that the explanation and the correct science is put down. So we wait for you to tell us the sizes. It's a very, should be very, very little difference. I don't think you have vacuum. This is what is known as a central column magnetic field flow. It's very much, if you measure that surface of the interface, what you see as a transparent point, this is very much nano layer in a GANS state of the liquid of water. Carry on, sorry about that.
Oh, I'm the one who should be sorry, but there was a relevant question in the live stream, and I also have the same question, which is, what if that central column that we're looking at, what if it had hydrogen in it instead of whatever is there now, vacuum or water vapor or plasma or
It's all
whatever?
the same. If the field is too much and is not used in the correct way, the field has to find a way to get out or to get in. Doesn't matter what you put in. As you know, part of our negotiation with the Japanese government is very simple. We are giving the technology across to use, and all we are asking for is what we collect as tritium residual to be given as a gift to the Keshe Foundation. Because then we can produce unified cores. And that's how the universal cores work. You have within your knowledge of the knowledge seekers how to move this column. And when you move this column, you change the direction of the flow of your system. You can go left, you can go right, you can make a full turn instantaneously. Because the control goes out of physicality and it goes in direction and realm of plasma. And the knowledge seekers exactly know what this is. They've been taught in the past couple of weeks before we wake up. Actually, in the last couple of days before we wake up. And they are aware of it. They've been told not to disclose till the time is right. So what you do, you move directly to central column. And if you find a tilt in your central column field, this is exactly the condition of the Earth.
I was going to ask about that, Mr. Keshe, whether the reactors should be more orientated with the magnetic field of the Earth. Would that matter? Because usually...
Not much, but in fact, as you are using matters which are at the Earth level gravitational magnetic field, this has already come into operation.
So one orientation would be to the gravity, and one would be toward the magnetic, perhaps. So would there be some advantage to having a reactor shell that can orientate to different directions, so you can sort of point your reactor configuration in a way?
You know, we have a say between Elia and I. We say good morning, which means you've been enlightened.
Yeah, well, our configuration can turn in 180 degrees, like upside down. But I was also considering other directions. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you are moving slowly from matter to matter in your brain thinking to matter plasma, and you're gradually moving into plasma thinking, and then you see you get enlightened much faster. Elia has already reached that point, but it's a matter of putting things in order. And I see we are working and aligning in the same direction. Marco has achieved part of it, and it's understanding it in totality. But as you start working more and more with plasma, the more you see how far you can actually forget about the matter state, because it's so weak that you should not even consider it. Because now you work in a plasma state at matter level, which is extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. You can use the power of one GANS to change the environment of this planet. if you know how to release its energy. Considering that in the plasmatic condition, energy is considered as gravitational magnetic field. Next question.
Got anything there, Vince? Or well, we do have a.
Does it else?
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to ask, do you have anything? I don't have anything in the chat. No
Okay,
questions. Everybody's tired today.
There was a
It
question.
says, if the fifth core of the SSI rotating? In SSI, as far as we know, everything is happening. It's just that the program of the live stream has, as I think Mark was realized, has a time duration. It shuts itself down apparently, or it's part of our program that way. So the lady will be in tomorrow most probably, and we'll restart it because today's Christmas. Nobody's working, so the things are still going on.
There is a question here. Maybe it's more appropriate for a health workshop, but that won't be for a while, so we'll ask it anyway. How might a simple system be developed in order to filter out the fluoride from our Canadian drinking water in homes on a personal basis? Some solutions remove minerals as well as the fluoride, and others just aren't practical. So targeting the fluoride specifically is the aim here. He suggests perhaps a cup of life alteration or a drinking straw composed of a nanomaterial with its compounds structured to be the inverse of the fluoride molecules to trap them. I would love to hear the thoughts on this. Cheers, Mark.
Put it this way: if you trap, you have to get out what they put in. Through the channel, some of you know, I'm very familiar with this fluoride situation in Canada, and the way you've been trying to fight in different localities and situations and part of the country to stop the government to add fluoride into the water. One of my relatives who's a dentist, she's in the front line of this position with your government. So I'm more or less aware of what you're talking about. The only way you can move the fluoride or any other element is two ways. Find its gravitational magnetic field and learn the ethos of the universe. You cannot destroy. You have two choices. Put a field, gravitational magnetic field, at the point of exit to do what parotid gland does in your body. Change the element to the nearest element which is not harmful or is needed by or cannot do any harm by your body. This means putting a field converter at the point of dispatch. So what you do, you can do it with nano layers of a specific way, because a liquid cannot damage the flow of the fields in nano-coated layers. The first few layers which are loose will be dispatched, I mean they'll be taken off. But the layers which are solidified and are tied up together will change the gravitational magnetic field of the fluoride to a different matter. Or put it at the state that the body thinks is something I do not need and rejects it, so it does not get absorbed or interfere with the digestion system. This is how the body works. That's how body changes calcium to phosphor or phosphor to calcium. It does not destroy it. It changes its gravitational magnetic field very much if you look at it in the spheres in front of your eyes. If you put such a thing as a ball, as a ring, at the point of dispatch, which is the end of your sink or tap in the house where the water comes out, you put the water in that central column. And because the strength of the column is dictated by the field of the material you put in it, then you change the characteristics of the matter to a non-harmful, or at a level which the body recognizes I don't need such a matter and rejects it. So this is the easiest way to change any matter. In space you need this kind of filtering. If you read the patterns, we have put the property of filtering of the system somewhere. If suddenly somebody puts poison, or by accident, let's say a chemical plant releases poison in the drinking water, what you do, you find very rapidly, it can be done within a matter of milliseconds by the authorities, what the field strength is, and all you do, you change the composition of the mixture. Here you have a copper oxide and something else. There, for example, you use zinc and something else, and that field will change the poison. So you drink the poison, but it'll have no effect because body considers as not needed. This is part of the work which we save our lives with poisoning. Now you understand another key point. We do not attack, we do not do anything, but because the body's strength is set as a higher level, it converts anything which is not necessary for that level to a new material which is not needed. You don't digest everything you swallow, everything you eat. The ones which are not at the level needed by the body, you reject it in the stool. So the same is done. And now you see the process, how you can do it. It's right in front of you. I always keep on saying, I do not teach unless you are ready to understand. So you don't want fluoride? Very easy. Just put it through and build a system where you get fluoride on one side, you still get fluoride on the other side, but inert fluoride for your body. By adding and changing its field, but when it goes through, it looks like there's a calcium. So body, if it needs it, it takes it as a calcium. This is how your parotid glands operate. By changing the field around the point of need, and at that point, the matter changes to what is needed. Then body has made such a perfect system that it can do that at any spot in your life. That's why you get cancers in different points. That's why you get the accumulation of calcium in certain points. And if you change the field strength, you will see the matter disappears because now it's not needed. It's a different material, there's no need for it. The new, what do you call it, paint pads do have the capability to interfere with some of these. Depends how it's used and what we let it go at and what we can do with it. So today we've seen a lot of gifts as a Christmas gift for the scientists who understand the world of science. And all of you are scientists. You don't need to have something to call it a degree that you are an engineer. Science, engineering, a doctorate shows the level of arrogance. A man should be humble enough to understand then you have all the degrees in your pocket. 200 years ago we didn't have doctors. And the professor was a name which is created to elite us, to show how more ignorant we become. So you all understand the basic and you can live with it and you can use it in different ways. And with a simple 1 centimeter ball, if you can put the water through it, through the gap of the column you see, you change the matter to what you need. Understand one simple principle and then you can carry on to do a lot of things.
Mr. Keshe,
We receive,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
let me explain. We receive everything on this planet at the level of nitrogen. The conditions which we create, it dictates how this nitrogen will change for us. It becomes a fertilizer, In different other conditions, we call it amino acid control. In another condition, we call it whatever we like. But in essence, every energy we receive is at the level of a nitrogen. So how would you like the nitrogen to be and to look like? It's you who decides the size or release of the fields from its plasma. If you understand this, then you enter the world of creation in the universe. You create what you need at a point of need according to what filter you put in the passage of the magnetic gravitational field flow. You want aluminium to be produced on continuous basis. You create a reactor, what we call as auxiliary reactors on the boundary, which receive the fields, and at that point the field received from the center core, by the time it goes out of the core, it becomes aluminium. That's the way conversion done is in the universe. In a simple way, I explained this in the lecture in Italy 2 days ago. How you get nitrogen at the Earth level, and you get the same fields at the Saturn to become helium. If you understood that, now you see it in practicality. Yes, carry on.
There was a question in the live stream from Jack. If you turn off the system, the GANS belt stays. But if I start again, do I have to destroy the existing GANS belt?
It depends how they are stuck to each other, and how they are stuck amongst each other. If you cut the layer cross section, you will find, for example, CO2 on the outer or inner side of the core, and there's not a clear division. Somewhere in between the two, you find a mixture of the two, and it spreads less and less till it goes fully to one side or fully to the other side. So it's emergence of the magnetic field balance. And then that dictates the field flow in the center. Most of the separation you see, it'll be very interesting. Let me explain something else. You have a glass core, add a third element into this, and then you tell us the shape of the center column if you can reach it. You'll be very big surprise. Notice I say central columns. In that way, if you are very, very clear and you can observe through, you will see layers of these internally. It means one column sitting inside another column. And the size and the position of column, it depends on the interface between your ganses. This is the way the rings of the, what do you call it, gaseous planets are created. But here, you are doing the reverse. So you see the rings inside. I told you, you come, you reach a level of maturity, I enlighten you. Then, if you understand these layer differences, you can use them as a memory computer storage for different information. And then you understand why the ball on the top teaching room is sitting there. You saw these channels, you saw these columns in the very first pictures knowledge seekers put on the internet, when they had the gases in collection in boxes. You've seen this column in the flow of the fast photographic 2 or 3 weeks ago, where you see those magnetic flow columns. There, because your box is a square, you see it as a floating that way. Here is centralized, so it's helium. Now, in a way, you have created a ring magnet. And knowledge seekers know, I always tell them that the central strengthens in the hollow point in the center of the ring. At the matter level, what you touch as a physical magnetic ring is when it's converted to matter. And now you see it in the exact point in your work. Before you had a ball, because it was gradually refining its residual to become a column. And the field strength was not there to create it. Now you mixed, and sometimes if you use enough material of the same to use the same but it's a spectrum of the field, then you see the column. And in so many ways, this is a column which we created in the center of our course with a pin in the middle. This way we try to bring the top to the middle, that we can control the flow of the plasma. And then, as knowledge seekers know, in the future we show you why we do this. This glass tube, in its smallness and simplicity, opens a lot of mysteries in the world of creation. But you have to understand and explain this, that it can be understood. You are excited, you had a ball in the middle, now you have a column. And as you develop your knowledge, as you extend the knowledge, you bring the boundary of this column to the outside of the core. And gradually, you're achieving it on the top. Understand how you increase the dimension of your central column, and just increase it and bring it out. Then you shall see the light. You've shown this in the animations, where the plasma comes in and it explodes outside. Push the boundary, create another condition to expand this central column, and expand it enough that once it comes in touch with the physical plasma GANs, then you start seeing light inside. And then if you bring it out, you will see light in the boundary of the system, and then you see bright light in the sky. You are very near to achieve the goal of the man to leave this planet. But you have to do it, and not for me to do. This ball, if you can extend the knowledge, should show you everything you wanted. To you, energy is that you can have light and heat. Now you have received it. But understand why it's coming, and do not go back to physicality and doubt your knowledge. You don't need to doubt what you have achieved. You have achieved a lot. The way I told to Vince, when he showed the first reactor, understanding it, you have achieved the same. Now you have added to the knowledge. Bless your soul. But try to understand what you have achieved, and do not go to blame or try to justify or to explain in a matter level. I explain to enlighten, but you have to start enlightening each other, that you understand the way. As I always say, there is a hat at the entrance of the road of the Keshe Foundation. Change your thinking from matter to plasma, and then start explaining the interaction of plasmas in what you understand. Then you will see it. Very much so you have. If you see in this video, you see what happens. You had it out, and it comes, and it can go beyond it. You have to concentrate it, and then you will see the light. You have achieved very much a major breakthrough in the world of science, but because you are doing it, nobody can kill you. If you look at the structure of the red, that's exactly what you're about to achieve. But because you have 3 cores on the side, they are dictating the size of the column, and you have created that column. The column is created because other fields in other cores are pulling on the sphere in the middle. So when it goes out, it has to come back in. That's why the shape of your center ball has changed into a column. And that's why the center column on the top is stronger, is bigger. you have need to do certain kind of adjustment that you put most of these fields into the free plasma. It means you have a leakage. But at the moment, don't change anything. Just play with the plasma and the positioning, and if the field's there. Then you understand how much you're taking from the free plasma, and then you're putting it in. In the SSI unit, you see it as the field growth in the what do you call it, in the X and Z. But when you see the growth in the Y, it's the center column flow and the direction of the change. It'll be very interesting if your polarity, change of polarity can be shown by the size of the core, center core column. You haven't, I don't think, to what I see, you have any, what do you call it, water, or you have any air. If you have air, with the speed which you are running, and the science of centrifuge, this should move to the boundary. Because air is a very heavy material. You have a nitrogen, you have all sorts of gases. My understanding is maybe you have to justify what you see in the matter level, but I don't think you have air, and you have to understand how the original sphere has changed into a column. It means the fields have connected, and even if you put your hand in between, if it is, you should see the change in the size of the column. Then you educate us and put the video up what you see. Any other question?
Yes, there's a question on the direction. What is the influence of rotation direction on the four, what we call them, generators, the four reactors?
The
And
rotation you are looking at only can be dictated by the plasma field strength, not by the speed of physical rotation.
you mentioned once that the plasma rotates in a counterclockwise direction, and when you look from the top, so should reactors be rotating counterclockwise, or will they just
They
rotate
decide
according to what?
themselves.
Right, they decide themselves.
They decide themselves according to the strength of the other fields and their fields. This goes back to the teachings we've shown, and it's in the book. The direction of rotation of any plasma or earth, it's all dependent on the field strength in the center in respect to the environmental gravitational magnetic field. When you see the different direction of flow in your plasma, it means you have increased the field of the plasma, so it has to change its direction of motion to be able to release some of it that it can stay in balance. The reason plasma changes direction of flow is that it's compacting of the fields. When it cannot break through that it can release its fields, so it rotates in a different direction to find a gap that it can do. That's the only reason you get change of polarity. Change of polarity in the plasma, in the stars or in planets. It comes as like very much that it cannot go, tie a rope and then the rope cannot be tightened anymore, so it opens up. It's the same process. The change of polarity comes when the current flow of the plasma cannot be achieved. So you create a traffic jam, but the field has to go somewhere. So as it's going tighten in, now it cannot go any further, and it goes the other way till find a gap where the fields can be released. Because central gravitational magnetic field cannot absorb and accept any more than what the inertial mass of the matter dictates.
Okay,
When
so
the inertial
so that
dictates, let me explain
gets
this.
okay. Sorry.
When the gravitational magnetic field of the inertia of the mass reaches a point of the balance with the gravitational field magnetic field of the plasma in the magravity state, this is the time when the gravitational magnetic field of the plasma will not move. So the inertial gravitational magnetic field has to, as a lighter point, has to move and change direction. And in physicality, we see the change of the flow of the magnetic field in the matter level. That's why you observe it, and you change your polarity. So only it comes, you cannot change the center. So the plasma of the matter level, which what you call inertial gravitational magnetic field strength, comes to a point that it gets influenced, so it has to in totality go, and then you get a current flow change, which what we call change of rotation, directional rotation. And you can do this instantaneously for certain purposes, for release of high fields in the direction of destruction, or not destruction is the wrong word, of opening of heavy materials ahead of your high speed level. When you cannot zigzag, it's not a driving drunken on the road that you can go around the cars. At high speed, you maintain a high speed on a straight line, but by change of the direction and release of compactness and the direction of flow, you release energies ahead of you to open up whatever it is below the level of the tangibility of the craft. So you travel through a free space, but in fact all you do, you don't destroy. You open up, you go through, and behind you it closes because you change the field. So if you understand this point, you'll find out that you can go through planets and through stars if you understand their composition.
Is the travel always in straight lines?
It's the way the magnetic fields do, yes.
Mm-hmm.
The stronger magnetic fields, the straighter the line.
But you could maybe tie into another field partway along the journey to make it curve, or is it straight?
When you need it, that's how you go to the curvature when you want to change the direction. If you go a straight line, you fall out of the universe. You join, it's like motorways, you join different strength in the different curvature, and that curvature takes you around the planet, around the galaxy, in the galaxy. You tune in to the gravitational magnetic field of the belt of the floor, and that's instantaneous. And you go through different level of strength. You have all the knowledge in these balls, it's just that because it's not at the level of understanding, you don't see it. What I see in these balls is a beautiful reality, but in time I have to explain it step by step. What you do, if you understood what I explained about different layers of the fields, all you do, you change the layer and the thickness of the layer internally in these fields, and you go from one level to another without touching any of your passengers, because it's done outside the reactor, not outside the craft, not inside. So you just change directions like the wheels. This, if you understand further, is your control system for directional flow and increase of protection and increase of defense technology, what you call for the craft in the deep space. You strengthen the direction, it gives you strength to literally open up as you never destroy anything in the space. And then if you have the ability to change the field strength on one side, and you bring the central column core as you created in line with the ones outside, you just take turn. You turn left or right. But you have to know how to pull and increase and reduce it. And this you're learning very fast. Let me explain to you when you will see the light. You will see the light when you understand and the prophets of the present unite. Because till that point is not reached, there shall not be peace. Until there is no peace, there shall be no enlightenment. Now 12 of you know what you got on your hand. But you're on the right track, and don't blame. The first time you spoke, You said, I think there was no vacuum, but there was no air in, but when I opened, there was no air, but you see a bubble in the middle. The bubble is a plasma bubble of free dimension, but the fields, when it comes to the tangibility of the water, it shows itself as a bubble. Now you have stretched the bubble open, and if you understand this, you understand the flow of a light in a field. When in the book number 2 I explained the light is a plasma, but a stretch that it can go faster. Now you see the central part of the ray of light. Now you have to find the ends, and you'll be enlightened. The next question.
Do you have any
I
more
think we are
questions, there,
close
Vince?
to the hour and a half.
We are. There was one other question about the will a free plasma become more compact if the generators are closer to each other? I think you kind of answered that already with previously there.
I think you have to see how you do it and the way you do it, and then you see what you expect from it. It's very much like the creation of the matter. It depends what you want and how much energy you want. You understand there is no need for change of a speed. There is no need for anything. Start living the life of a plasma, then you will be enlightened. Your cells are caught in a schizophrenic between matter and the plasma. Some of you are reaching it faster, and some of you still have a leg in both sides. And some of you still would like to understand, but we don't like to let go yet. We still prefer to think in the matter state. Everything is in there. Your energy, if you understand, as much kilowatts as you like in these balls, as the light, as the food, as everything else. Now you have seen the channeling of the magnetic gravitational field as a plasma. What you have in the center of these glasses is not field, but it's a field of plasmas. It's a big difference. It's not the ray. This is why a lot in the world of science, they say light sometimes behaves as a matter and sometimes as a plasma. Because it's the plasma. The environmental condition depends how it shows itself. So you want to make it a ray, behave as a ray, you know what to do. All you need to do is separate if you want the ray to go out or to come in. You separate your gravitational fields to be slightly different than your magnetical fields, you get the ray coming to you. You want the ray to go out of you, you increase it the other way, so some of the fields with less magnetical field, or more magnetical field and less gravitational field, will extract outside, and you see there's a light going out. In time, you will be able to lighten outside or inside. And you just do it by the word of plasma, by the work of plasma, and these free balls inside. Sometimes in the past time, you worked in the light environment. If you make a total darkness, and you make the center column fields of the center plasma very strong, you should be able to see a light inside your core. Because that's the interaction from the what you see as the layer, as the shape of the column, this is the conversion of the gravitational magnetic field plasma from the transition to a matter state, but a translucent matter state of the field. So for the first time, you see what guys call it God particles. This is the point of creation of God particles. But the field is at the strength because you created the center of free plasma that it pulls it so much that does not allow it to reach the state of the matter strength that you can see it as matter. And you'll find out when you reach this condition that your what you call GANs, or the matter in the core, will never change. It will stay constant forever shall be. Because The plasma column, central column, feeds what is needed internally first before it goes out. So you never lose and you never gain. You stay constant in what you put in. Thy shall not destroy. Now you understand more about the reality of the creation. That's why the mass of the universe never changes and stays constant. And when the mass changes, because it gives more out to the environment outside, is the time of division and what you call nuclear decay. Now nuclear physicists understand why a neutron breaks open. Next question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We're up to almost an hour and a half, which is what we designated for this show. Maybe we can kind of wrap things up here now.
I think so. We better explain exactly where we're going. That's why we are closing quick or early. The reason for this is that, as you know, the Keshe Foundation core team, which is established some couple of weeks ago, has accepted the responsibility as a human race to share their souls and their, what you call, energy of conscious with those who would like and are the cause and instigators of crisis on this planet, in different names and different covers of religions or leadership. So what has been tried and we try to achieve is to give from the soul of humanity to the soul of the Prophet of God for what they've done wrong to humanity, that the man is at this point of life. In their physical soul, they overpassed the soul of the Creator's wishes. So if you thought the prophets of the past were so perfect that you always worship them, now it's time for you to join us to give you a soul that elevates their physical soul in what they did not give for the man's soul to reach the prophet's soul, that then we find peace. And that's what we're going to do after this session. We started it before this session and it's going on till we achieve world peace. To give from the man's soul, from the bottom to the top, to give to the soul of the prophet in the human level, that it reaches the soul of the prophet as a messenger. Then they'll be enlightened, and through them they enlighten all leaders, and through it mankind, and we achieve world peace. Because they short-changed us, as we say in English, in giving whatever they received due to their human soul. And now we give enough from the bottom to the top that they be enlightened. And that's what we do. If you want to join us, don't pray for the prophets you believe in, but give from your soul to them that they needed to elevate their souls, because at the human level they failed. And that's why we see the conflict between religions. And how much they failed has caused more problem in humanity. The message was complete. It's just in the process human soul took advantage or took over this message of the God. So that's where we are going, and that's where we're concentrating. Thank you very much for today. We hope
Thank you very much.
we see each other on the other side in a few minutes.
On the other side, yes.
On the other side. Thank you very much. It is on the other side. You feel. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Bye. Bye. Thanks.
Okay. And so ends the 42nd Keshe Knowledge Seekers Workshop. Thank you, everybody on live stream and Skype and GoToMeeting and other places around the universe that might be listening. Thank you, everybody, for attending.